Hello everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another video. Today, we got a little bit of an interesting one here today. We are taking a look back at the 2021 NHL draft on a little throwback Thursday video here. We're going to take a look at the 30 picks in the first round, I guess 31 picks in the first round. We'll also take a look at the prior rounds as well, and then go over the best player, the worst player, the biggest steal, the goalie, and the shout-out guy as well. Let's hop right in. First off, here now at first overall, we have Owen Power, drafted first overall by the Buffalo Sabres. He is a defenseman. So far through his career, 248 games played, 20 goals, 93 assists for 113 points with Buffalo. Yeah, I mean, I would say that through his campaign so far, he's been solid. Again, there hasn't been some pretty years in there, but he's racked up the numbers to be a good 45-point defenseman there in the future, and so far this year has been okay. The problem is, though, is that he's on Buffalo, and I feel like I look at Power's overall numbers, I don't really think he's performed to the first overall potential. I'm just going to be honest with you guys, but still a good defenseman nonetheless, still a good number 2, but when he was drafted, he was projected to be a pretty good number 1. Hasn't been that here so far. And again, I should say that this is like the COVID draft more or less, and a lot of these guys' developments were impacted because some of them didn't even play during 2020-21. And COVID really affected draft classes all the way up until 2022, I would say. So Power, I think, has been all right, but the expectations, I wouldn't say have been met, really. Here's one that I'm worried that won't get to the level that he was projected to be, at least offensively. Matty Beniers, drafted second overall by Seattle. He was his first draft pick in the history of that franchise. He's been pretty good throughout his NHL career. He has a Calder Trophy in 2022-23. He regressed the following year and then improved a little bit in 2024-25. He got better defensively. I think overall what we're seeing from Beniers is probably what we're going to be seeing in the future. I'm not expecting for him to really get that much better in terms of his overall point production. But defensively, he's been solid, a good two-way player there. Let's just hope that continues at the very least. Again, you want to see that there. If you're the Kraken, have a good two-way player there for sure. So Beniers, I think that second overall pick potential maybe hasn't really met that there just yet. But still a good player in the NHL there. I really don't have much complaints about Beniers there for sure. The development of Mason McTavish has been pretty fun to watch, I gotta say. Drafted third overall in 2021. He's first finished off his rookie year with 43 points. Then the following year, 42. And then the year after that, 52. And so far this year, he has a point per game. 146 points in 235 games played. Was signed to that $7 million contract for 6 years. Yeah, I think that McTavish has lived up to the third overall pick potential, or at least is getting there. Again, you're seeing the slow improvement year in, year out in terms of his overall numbers. He increased by 10 points this past year. And I think even, we look at 23-24 as oh, that's a down season. He missed almost 20 games. So there's that factor there too. He missed nearly 20 games during that year. And I feel like for a guy like Mason McTavish, he still has a lot of room to improve and a lot of time to do so. But he's probably been the best player we've looked at here so far through this class. Luke Hughes then up next at fourth overall here to the New Jersey Devils. Has finished up his career, or has been through his career so far. He hasn't finished it up. 162 games played, had 98 points. I think Hughes has been solid. Again, I feel like defensively there's some things he needs to work on, but I think that he's been better than people profile him to be. Is he worth $9 million? Probably not at this point in his career, but the cap is going up and such, so I guess you got to do what you got to do. Overall, though, I think he's been a solid key player for this team, especially on their blue line. I think that the numbers could be better, but I think he's slowly getting there, if that makes any sense. I think he's slowly getting to where we projected him to be a couple of years ago. He's had some great years with Michigan, but since then hasn't really gotten to that level, at least on the two-way sense, but I think we're getting there for sure. Ken Johnson has certainly had a difficult campaign since coming to the NHL, but after last year, he really kind of solidified himself as he is a part of this core. 204 games played, 48 goals, 71 assists for 119 points with the Blue Jackets. Again, the year prior to last year, he was playing in the American Hockey League, and there was some real concern about him. And after this past year, put up 57 points in 68 games played. I'm not really that concerned anymore. I think that this guy has the good offensive voice. He's on a really good contract, too. Like 60 points last year for a $1.8 million deal last year is pretty damn good. And I think that as we head into a contract year for him, he could be even better, and he could be asking for a pretty good amount of money, I might say. So overall, Johnson, another one of those guys from Michigan. There's already been like 3 of them so far. He has been awesome here for Columbus. The years prior were a struggle, but I think that you don't look at those years prior. I think you look at 2024-25 as a major positive for this player and his development. Simon Edvinsson is 22 years old, and when he came into the Red Wings lineup last year as a full-time player, he basically locked down as one of their top defensemen. Overall in his career, 110 games played, 11 goals, 25 assists for 36 points with Detroit. I got to be honest with you, though, the offensive numbers are not indicative to how good this guy is. He has been very good defensively and has been pretty good locked down for Detroit. Again, you look at the Red Wings defense, it's not very strong. It's looked good so far this year, but in years prior, it has not been very strong. Edvinsson has really helped that out and made this defense a lot better than what I thought it was. And to be honest with you, I feel like he is a pretty good pick there at 6th overall. Is a really good shutdown defensive D. And maybe you want the offense to be a little bit better. Like 31 points isn't that bad for a guy who's mainly known for his shutdown defense. But overall, Edvinsson, very solid defensive D there for sure. The trajectory of William Eklund with the San Jose Sharks has probably been one of the more fun stories to watch here around the National Hockey League. So Eklund, throughout his career so far, 180 games played, 36 goals, 76 assists for 112 points. Last year with San Jose had 58 points. The year before that, 45 points. This guy's upward trajectory as his career's gone on has been very positive, going from 45 points to 58 points. You're seeing real improvement there. And Eklund was just signed on that bridge deal this offseason, and I think that bridge deal is going to bode well for his career. He's been pretty solid here so far for the San Jose Sharks, and I think he's only going to get better. So Eklund there at 7th overall, looking like a pretty solid pick there for San Jose. The biggest issue that I see with Brandt Clarke and the Los Angeles Kings is not only his, production, but are the Kings going to play him enough? I feel like it's without question that the potential and the upside and the really good play is there, but is he getting enough ice time or being put in the right situations to be that guy that LA wants him to be? Last year was really good when Doughty was out. 5 goals, 28 assists, 33 points. When Doughty came in, though, there was definitely some struggles, for sure. Overall, I think that Brandt Clarke, it's still early in his career, but I'm not concerned about his overall, as a player. I think without question, this guy has the skill and the talent to be in the NHL. I'm more worried about how he's going to fare inside of the Kings organization. That's what I'm more worried about, to be honest with you. But Clarke, there's still a lot of time to fix that issue, and I'm not really too worried, to be honest with you guys. Dylan Guenther, selected 9th overall by the Utah Hockey Club, or formerly known as the Arizona Coyotes. Had a breakout year last year, put up 60 points in 70 games played. So far this year has 4 goals in 7 games played as well. He was signed to that contract, and people kind of lost their minds about it, having only 35 points in 45 games played, being his career high the year before. But Guenther has really started to break out of his shell as that top 6 forward Arizona, or I guess Utah, wanted him to be. Again, 60 points last year, scored nearly 30 goals. He's already off to a pretty good start this year. I'm expecting for him to continue that. He's been very good here for the Utah Mammoth and is probably going to be looked at down the road as one of the steals in this draft. I'm just going to be honest with you. He's probably one of the bigger steals that you look at here in terms of players in this overall draft. Now we get into our first real bust in this draft. Tyler Boucher, drafted 10th overall by the Ottawa Senators. This may go down as one of the worst picks in the history of the Ottawa Senators, and probably of recent memory in the NHL. He has yet to play a game in the NHL, has struggled in the AHL. You look at his overall numbers there. His career high last year was 10 points in 47 games played. He's already on pace to break that, and maybe it's just a slower development than usual, but he never even really had the numbers prior to solidify and, give Sens fans that much confidence and justify him being selected at 10th overall. So right now, this looks like the biggest bust of the draft. There's still time, he's 22 years old, but yeah, he's looking like a bust. Cole Sillinger at 11th overall, I feel like he's not a bust, but maybe he shouldn't have been drafted at where he was. Last year, put up 33 points in 66 games played, has been a consistent 30-point scorer throughout his career. Overall, though, I feel like at 11th overall, maybe shouldn't have been drafted there. The fact that he got paid more than Kent Johnson is diabolical. But Sillinger could be a good third liner here for Columbus. But overall, I've been pretty disappointed in his overall development. There's still time, though, to improve that for sure. Again, I'm not going to write off his career right here, right now. But overall, I look at the numbers. Good 30-point scorer, but it's not 12th overall pick caliber. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. Again, I do have to say this. There is a void draft pick in there at 11th overall. So that's why we jumped from 10th to 11th. As you can tell, there's a void pick in there from the Coyotes and their illegal draft pick thing a couple years ago. Matthew Coronato has been pretty solid here to start off his career. His career high was last year, 47 points in 77 games played. I can see the real vision and the upside here coming from him. I feel like last year was the first year in his real breakout year, and I think this year he's going to get better. I know through 8 games played, Calgary has not been that great, but Coronato still has time to improve upon that. He has scored 2 goals for the team, which it's kind of impressive considering the fact they haven't really scored a lot this year. I think Coronato is one of the guys that you look at there as a real sign of hope for that average forward core, and hopefully Coronato will take another step this year. But I think he's been fine at 13th overall. He hasn't played enough to really solidify me being that confident in him, but yeah, definitely needs to improve there for sure. But I think that will come in time, definitely. At 14th overall is Isaac Rosen. Not really a bust just yet per se, because he hasn't really played that much in the NHL. He's put up some awesome numbers with Rochester. 55 points last year in 61 games played. The year before that, 50 and 67. He's been pretty good. In the NHL, though, has really lacked any offensive poise or any reason for the Sabres to keep him up there. But again, he's only played 15 games in his career, so I feel like it's too early to judge Rosen just yet, but the AHL numbers are promising. And it's kind of the same thing that we look at here for Sebastian Cossa. Only 1 game played in the NHL last year. Has been good so far in Grand Rapids. Last year, 41 games played, a .911. What's crazy is that he may not even be the best goaltender in Detroit's system. And that's wild to think. He's been pretty solid here for their AHL club. I think overall, you definitely want to see improvement, and I feel like we are seeing some of that here with Cossa. He's still a little bit of a ways away, meaning a year. But I feel like next year we can start looking at Cossa and being yeah, he should be playing NHL games. Now that we're through the top 15, let's start going through these teams rapid fire here. Starting off with Brennan Othmann, has been disappointing here for the New York Rangers. Was injured last year, did play some games in the American Hockey League. There has been some speculation recently that there are teams that are knocking on the door there, seeing if Brennan Othmann is available, because there's still upside there, but he has been pretty disappointing here with the New York Rangers. Zach Bolduc was traded from St. Louis to Montreal. He's been pretty dynamo for the Canadiens so far. 4 goals in 8 games played. The year prior had 19 goals in 72 games played in his pretty much rookie season. It's kind of diabolical that the Blues got rid of him for Logan Mailloux. He's been pretty good for Montreal so far and is only going to get better. And then Chaz Lucius, a sad story. Obviously, he was forced to retire early due to injuries. But yeah, you look at the numbers here, his career high in terms of games played in the pros was 25. Really sucks for him. He just dealt with injuries and really could never get his career off the ground. It's terrible. Jesper Wallstedt now up next for Minnesota. Through 7 NHL games played, hasn't been that great. Had a rough year last year with the Iowa Wild. But I think, to be honest with you, it's still a little bit too early to judge him. He's never even played like more than 3 games in a season. I know he's obviously going to break that this year, but it's too early to really depict anything just yet. His AHL numbers last year were a little bit concerning, though, but he's off to a decent start through 2 games played in the NHL so far this year. Fabian Lysell. And what sucks with Boston, and the guy we're going to get into here next, this draft is a mix of players who just didn't work out and poor development. And Lysell is an example of like, not really, I don't know if it's poor development, but like he hasn't really been given a chance. Only 12 games played in Boston, has spent the rest of his career down in Providence, had 34 points last year in 52 games played. The year before that, 50 and 56. It's been pretty underwhelming, to be honest with you, his overall development in the NHL, and I'm not sure if I expect him to get that much more games played this year. I'm just going to be honest with you. And then Xavier Bourgault has not even played a single NHL game. He's been traded from the Oilers to the Senators, is down there right now with Belleville, 3 goals in 5 games played. Maybe play some NHL games with Ottawa not being that great so far this year. But overall, I'm not really expecting that much. He's been disappointing. Moving on then to the biggest steal in the draft, in my opinion, Wyatt Johnston of the Dallas Stars was drafted 23rd overall, had 71 points last year, career totals, 185 points in 253 games played. This guy has been phenomenal. Look, he's already cooking through his first couple of games to start off this season, has great playoff performances there too. This guy's been awesome, and there's really no doubt about that. Like, he is incredible, to be honest with you, and probably one of the biggest deals in this draft for sure. Mackie Samoskevich, one of my favorite players from this draft class, was drafted 24th overall. Last year had a big breakout year with Florida, had 31 points in 72 games played. So far this year with the Panthers at 6 points in 9 games played. He's been very good so far to kind of kick off his career, a good rookie season last year. And then Corson Kuhlmans has been in the American Hockey League for pretty much his entire career, hasn't even played one singular NHL game. The development's been a little bit slowed, and I would probably say he's probably a bust. Another guy here who hasn't played in the NHL yet, Carson Lambos, just finished up his second season with the Iowa Wild. Overall, has had some pretty underwhelming stats. I mean, Minnesota's defensive depth is very deep, but I don't think this guy is really that good enough to get to the NHL, in my opinion. Zachary Leroux did play games last year for Nashville in his rookie season. This guy's physical. He definitely loves to, get in there, and he's gotten some suspensions prior. He has started off the year in the American Hockey League. He did not make the team out of training camp, which shouldn't be that surprising considering Nashville's winger depth. And then Oscar Olausson there as well, 28th overall, only played 4 games in the NHL, was just traded the other day from the Sharks to the Minnesota Wild. So I would say these 3 guys right here kind of looking like busts right now. Leroux, better than the others, for sure, though. And then we look through the last couple of players here through this class. Chase Stillman was drafted 29th overall, has spent the full majority of his career in the American Hockey League, has really struggled to put up good numbers in the pros, which is a little bit surprising. Zach Dean, as well as that too, played 9 games in 23-24 for St. Louis, but has not played games since. He was injured for a lot of this past year, so it really kind of limited his development, but I believe he is probably going to play some games with the St. Louis Blues if he does get the chance. Logan Mailloux was drafted by Montreal, put up some okay numbers there, had a good season with Laval, then was traded to the St. Louis Blues. So far this year, 0 points through 5 games. And then Nolan Allen played 43 games last year for Chicago, split time with Rockford as well. He did not make the team, and he was the last pick in the first round of the draft. So that being said, then, let's go take a look through the later rounds of the draft here. A couple of familiar faces. You obviously have Olin Zellweger here, who finished up a good rookie season last year with the Anaheim Ducks, is on pace to do even better this year. You also see guys on this list like Riker Evans as well, has played over 100 games in the NHL. Good defenseman there. You have a guy like Josh Doan, who is now with the Buffalo Sabres. Zach Ostapchuk, Scott Morrow is now with the Rangers. He's looking like he could be an exciting young prospect for them. He's obviously starting down there in Hartford. Logan Stankoven, obviously Stankoven was with Dallas, was traded to Carolina in the Mikko Rantanen trade. This guy has a ton of upside. Once he gets to his full potential, he could be a pretty exciting player there for sure. A lot of good guys in this draft in this second round class here. You see Matthew Knies as well. Knies, obviously one of those big physical forwards for Toronto. Had a big breakout year last year, 58 points in 78 games played. Career numbers, 102 in 68. He's been a good second round steal there by Toronto. You see another guy here too, like J.J. Moser, who, as well as that too, 264 games in his career, 88 points. Has played and been a consistent defenseman here for the Tampa Bay Lightning / Arizona Coyotes for sure. But yeah, you look at the rest of this second round here, you see some notable names like Oliver Kapanen, who is starting his rookie season this year. You see guys like Ville Koivunen, Nikita Chibrikov. You have a mix of guys in here who are players who have looked good in the NHL, but also guys who are starting their NHL careers this year and the following years as well. The third round is a little bit sparser. The player who has played the most games in this entire class is Ryan Winterton, who has started the year off with Seattle. Had some good years in the American Hockey League, but regardless, still has not had more than just an assist last season. Overall, this second round class is looking a little bit weak. You do see guys here like Alexei Kolosov is there as well. Carter Mazur's there too. You see some notable players as you go down the list who are guys who could maybe be good prospects down the road. But overall, this is looking like a relatively weak third round class here. Not a lot of strong suits. There's Tristan Luneau. But regardless, this is a pretty weak third round. The fourth round is slightly better, actually. The guy who's played the most games in this class is Emil Lilleberg. He is now with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Put up good numbers with them. He's been playing as a consistent defenseman, does rack up a lot of penalty minutes. Last year had 105. He's known for that little physical sense there in Lilleberg, Norway born there as well. You see a guy here too like Jackson Blake, who I'm a big fan of. Last year was great with Carolina. So far this year he's looked pretty good as well. Jackson Blake, one of my more favorite guys to watch when I do commentate and watch the Carolina Hurricanes. Apart from that, looking through the list here, you see some other guys like Ethan Del Mastro, good defenseman there. But apart from that, like Ryan Ufko here, Ethan Cardwell, who could be good. But apart from that, the fourth round, kind of the same thing. You do see maybe a couple of notable prospects in here who could play games in the future. But right now, it's not very strong. And we're going to go through the 5th, 6th, and 7th rounds here to wrap this one up because there's not a lot of players who are very notable. You see Joshua Waugh here for Montreal. Played games last year. Has spent a lot of time, though, with the Laval Rocket. So not a bad player there, but nothing too crazy there in terms of that. The rest of this 5th round is not really that crazy. I mean, you see some guys in here who are maybe looked at as notable prospects back in the day, but not really much anymore. The 6th round, nobody from this round has played NHL games, which is a little bit surprising. None of them have. And that's a little bit surprising, to be honest with you. But when you do look at the class and the players in here, there's not really anybody I see in here who I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, that's a notable guy who really didn't make it. Maybe Shane LaChance, who was traded in the Trent Frederick trade. But regardless, that's the only guy that I know from that 6th round. And then the 7th round is slightly better, I will say that. Tyson Kozak is the most notable guy there for Buffalo. Played 27 games in his NHL career, 7 points. Very good player there. Has played good since he started off with Buffalo, so maybe that's looking like a pretty good steal there for the Sabres. Apart from that, you got Zakhar Bardakov, who I think just played games with Colorado. Yeah, he just made his NHL debut this past week. So that's a guy there as well. And then Joel Nystrom, also, when I'm recording this, just made his debut last night against the Avalanche. You also see Taylor Makar there as well, who is the brother of Cale Makar. There's Carl Lindbaum, who will play NHL games at some point. Sam Lipkin there, too. You see some notable names here, like Arseny Sergeev, Penn State guy. Probably will play some NHL games. But overall, there's not a lot of notable players here that are in this 7th round, or the 5th or the 6th for that matter. Now we move on to the awards here in this class. The best player's got to be Wyatt Johnston. There's no doubt about that. I look at all the players in this class. Wyatt Johnston's got to be the best guy. Last year had 71 points. He's getting progressively better and better. He's been by far the biggest steal in this draft for sure. The biggest bust in this class has got to be Tyler Boucher. And it's hard for me to do that, but it's the truth. You look at the numbers here, this guy's never had better than 17 points through his campaigns here. Yeah, this guy was just not a good hockey player. I mean, with Belleville, he's been all right, but overall, definitely needs to improve there. It's looking like this year will be better for him, but he needs to build upon that. He needs to improve upon that. And so far, I have really not seen anything that shows that he's going to improve. So Boucher, the biggest bust of this class, and might be the biggest bust in recent memory. The biggest steal, once again, is Wyatt Johnston. Again, like I really can't go with anybody else here. Johnston picked 23rd overall, has 185 points so far. That is incredible value. Now, you could even argue that a guy like Matthew Nyes could be your steal, and I wouldn't disagree with that, but I think Johnston at 23rd overall by Dallas is incredible value. Again, this one's a little bit difficult, but I went with Jesper Wallstedt for the best goalie in this draft. The only reason why I do that is because he's played NHL games, and in the games that he's played, he hasn't looked too terrible. So I don't throw him that much flack for it here. I think that Wallstedt's been a good goalie, and I think he will only get better from there. But shout out to Sebastian Cossa. You could argue he's probably the better goalie in this draft class as well. So there you go. That is the full revisit of the 2021 NHL Draft 4 years later. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like down below and subscribe if you're new. But regardless, that is it for me. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.